Kisima podcast. I'm Gloria Masheti.
And I am Joy Mala.
And we are your hosts. Kisima podcast is a youth roundtable where we focus on all matters youth in governance and a little bit of social commentary. Thank you for joining us. We are Kisima_podcast on Instagram and Kisima podcast on Twitter. Do follow our social media pages.
Thank you, Gloria. So today is very special because we have a guest with us. Our guest today is the Uraia Trust Executive Director. Her name is Grace Maingi. So Grace Maingi has been in the civil space for a very long time. She began as a lawyer and she's still a human rights lawyer, I believe. Yeah, she has done a lot of work trying to enhance the civic engagement in the youth space and in Kenya in general. She is very driven about governance, the human rights, and social justice. So at this juncture, I'll just let Grace introduce herself better and tell you what she's about and her work thus far. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ladies, for having me on today. It's really an honor to be with you today. Rightly, like you said, my background is in human rights law, and my work over the years has been within civil society and focusing all the work, my energies to make sure that people can engage, but also that we have justice, that people are able to understand the Constitution. And that's more linked to the work I do right now at Uraia Trust. I've been previously engaged with work around women's rights, around their access to land, their access to justice, but also I've done work around the judiciary, strengthening the judiciary, and that's really where I started off my career at the International Commission of Jurists. So throughout my life, I've worked within non-governmental organizations or what we call not-for-profit space and really just working to make sure that Kenyans can enjoy the full benefits now of the constitution that we have. So it's really great to be with you guys today.
Thank you. Karibu.
Yeah, and I know most of you watching or listening in, mnashanga, what is Uraia Trust? We've seen your logos on copies of the Constitution, which, by the way, we have and will be distributing. But, and we know I think it's an umbrella association for civil societies that are interested in civic engagement and civic participation. So maybe you can give us more insight on what you do at Uraia Trust and, the place of youth in your organization.
Great, thank you so much. So Uraia, as we know, basically means citizenship in Swahili. We started off around 2000, but we started off as a program. And we started off as the National Civic Education Program. At that time in Kenya, the landscape was very different in terms of work around civic education. And so we came together, different organizations, you're right, civil society organizations, people who fund this work, what we call development partners, and individuals who really wanted to make sure that we could have civic education throughout the country and making sure that it would also be standardized and that there would be funding to make sure that the work can happen everywhere and that people could engage. So they started the National Civic Education Program, what we call NCEP. But through the phases, we went through NCEP 1, NCEP 2, and around 2005, it was felt that the word NCEP wasn't resonating with Kenyans. People couldn't understand what is this all about. We needed to change our identity. And so we took the name Uraia, which, as like I've said, means citizenship, and really to embody what Wanjiku is. Probably you're young, but you've heard your parents talking about the form of president and what he would say about civic education and Wanjiku. And so we took that on and said, we want to educate Wanjiku. We want to walk alongside Wanjiku to understand the constitution, to understand issues around governance, and that's how Uraia was born. So we focus on civic education, but of course, understanding that as you educate, you want people to engage. You're not educating in isolation. And so we have a focus on engagement. And really that work also goes into seeing how we transform institutions, but more importantly to your question, how do the youth also engage? How do other marginalized groups also engage? So, women, persons with disabilities, but especially around young people, understanding, especially now, the Constitution, understanding the history of the Constitution. How do we have it now? Why do we feel so strongly about it? But how can they engage and use it to make their lives better? And that's what we do. We do this by facilitating different organizations, supporting them with grants at the national and county level, but also working with civic educators. So we have civic educators throughout the country that we support. We work with budget facilitators as well, who we train. And really, all this work and all the partners we work with is to make sure that Kenyans can live out their constitutional aspirations. And that's why we take time to be able to distribute the constitution, so that we hope that at one point everyone will have access to a copy, but beyond that, that they will be able to use it and to see themselves and see, yes, this is a tool for development. This is a tool for advancing my rights in Kenya, but also understanding my responsibilities as a citizen. So that's in a nutshell Uraia, and the place of where young people come in very significantly in our work.
It is interesting that you mentioned the various aspects of Uraia's work in civic engagement, because for this one, we really want the young people to understand what are we talking about when we say civic education, and what are we talking about when we say civic engagement. Because in a democracy, we can't think of it as an utopia, like new crops of, or rather new people come out every other time. Like there's new generations that come out, and there's constant work that has to be put in to ensure that we transfer these values that we call a democracy. We transfer the skill sets, the knowledge to the oncoming generations so that they carry it further. So in a democracy, why is this important? So maybe you can begin by telling us the entire, breaking it down, what civic education and the civic engagement, what it means, and then why especially it's important in this democracy.
Great. Thank you so much for that. The the whole point of civic education is making sure that people understand how things work in a democracy, like you say, how government works, how they can engage. Because if you look at even the preamble of the Constitution, it's all central on us as citizens. And so if we don't understand it, how are we going to engage with it? And a simple example is the point of civic education is making sure that people understand the roles and responsibilities of people who they elect, people who they elect into office, who then they are delegating, they are giving their power to for them to do certain things to work for us as citizens. And so the state, which is the government, doesn't work and operate in isolation. It works for us, the people. But if we don't know how to engage with it, how we delegate that power, then, how are we going to make sure our lives improve? That's the whole point of civic education, making sure that people see, okay, I need to know this person I'm electing, what is their role? Yeah. What is their responsibility? I need to know, how do I hold them accountable? Yeah. Because essentially it's like you're in a home, you're in your house, and someone is coming in. You're employing someone to come in and do certain things for you. You wouldn't just say, oh, I think I need an astronaut to come and be arranging my meals, and you don't even know what an astronaut is. Or you're like, yeah, that's what I think. Wouldn't you first ask yourself, okay, I'm here, what do I need? And so the point of civic education is for people to understand these are the different roles. This is what they're going to be doing. This is how they are supposed to help me. And this is how I engage with them. And it goes beyond even around elections, it goes into understanding issues around services. So young people are struggling with issues of unemployment. They're struggling with issues of how they can have their businesses and grow livelihoods and so on and so forth. But if you don't understand whose responsibility that is, whose responsibility you're delegating that to, how to hold them accountable, you're at a disadvantage. You've given up a lot. and you're not bothering to check and to be engaged. And so the whole point of civic education is giving people that knowledge. Ideally, people should get civic education in school. And that's what we advocate for. That's what we're saying, that this should be taught to us by government, by the school system. It should be formalized. We see this a lot in Europe. It's formalized. And they call it citizenship education because it gives you the knowledge you need to be able to engage. It's a bit different here for us, unfortunately. But it should be within the school curriculum system, the same way we go to school and we are taught about math, we're taught about English, we're taught about, some people will pick and drop geography, some of us drop geography, but you're taught all these things to help you in your future life. That's what civic education is. And if you don't have that knowledge, how will you engage? How will you make the right decisions? So back to the analogy I gave of the house and the astronaut. You won't be able to know, first I want a cook. I don't want an astronaut. Okay. First of all, will I even be able to afford to pay that astronaut? Will they even agree to come in? Okay, I've taken the analogy too far. So I need to have the cook, yes, but I need to also know what am I expecting from them, and how will I be able to check they're doing what they're doing. But you can't just sit back and say it's somebody else's business. Let me just see what happens. You're giving up your power. You're giving up, you're disengaging and disempowering yourself. And that's why we say young people need to engage. Now, you might not like the way things are going. That's all the more reason to engage and change things. And so we work with different partners to get young people elected, to help young people understand how to navigate politics, but also in terms of how to organize. And that's why this podcast is so exciting, that you're helping people to understand, how do I organize and get my voice heard? Not all of us want to go into politics, and that is perfectly okay. But where can I use my voice where I am? Where can I speak up about the injustices that I see where I am? I could be working in a salon and I'm seeing there's injustice in terms of we don't have proper working hours. We don't have proper working conditions. Are you going to sit back and say, oh, whoa, me, whoa, yeah, ninaonewa? Or are you going to be able to approach the employer or the business owner and say, actually, health and safety, you're supposed to do 1, 2, 3, 4. You're supposed to help us with X, Y, Z. As an employee or, as a consultant working here, I'm supposed to do 1, 2, 3, 4. So being engaged, that's what it is, being awake. And as young people say, being woke, being active, that's the whole point. So we don't expect everyone to go into politics. We don't expect everyone to go into the county government or to the judiciary. But where you are, you should at least have some basic knowledge. Yes.
And you've mentioned a couple of interesting things. And on our previous episode, we were taking issue with the fact that we're not taught about these things in school. And then when you come out, you don't have a legal background. Huelewi hizi vitu, unashika hivi constitution, unaona ni refu, vitu zikuna sub-articles and subsections, I don't know. It becomes mambo jumbo. And we were saying, perhaps that was what the system wanted, to exclude us from the process. Lakini, hatutakubali, we are taking it in our hands. So kama kuna mtu they are wondering how they can participate, this is me giving you a segue to plug in some of the programs Uraia is having that young people can participate in to have an impact, to organize, and to be more active citizens. So what are some of the ways young people can be involved?
So there are very diverse ways in terms of how you can be engaged. I'll give an example in terms of some work we're trying to do with different groups who would call us in and say, we have young people who we're working with. They want to just basically understand how they can improve the transport system in their area. And they would approach Uraia. So Uraia would be able, even if not through us directly, but through the partners that we work with, saying there's this young group of individuals, they want to be engaged in 1, 2, 3, 4. How can you help? So we bring people together to be able to help in that sort of a way. We also work with different partners who are working with young people. So there are organizations we work with like Siasa Place, Badili Africa, different organizations. We have worked with Youth Alive Kenya, Youth Agenda, so on and so forth. So working with them in different ways, because then they penetrate where young people are, and young people are able to then also then use and link up with these other organizations to see how can I plug in. But also then you'll find like in rural areas, youth groups are organized. They're organized in themselves. They're probably doing a small biashara, and they want just assistance in one particular area. They want to probably they're not happy with what the county government is doing about business permits. And when they reach out to us, we're able then, because we have the civic educators, the budget facilitators at the county level, they're able to go in and say, this is the problem you have. Okay. I am going to then show you how you address it or who you address it to through the Constitution. So what we do is what we call action-oriented civic education, giving you the knowledge that you need to then take action. So it could be that you need to write a petition to the county government, for instance, or you need to have a meeting with the county executive committee member. So there are these ways we're always looking for opportunities to plug in and to be able to leverage on what others are doing to then get the information out. And rightly, like you say, not everyone is a lawyer. Not everyone will understand the Constitution. Not everyone is interested in it. But what we're saying is, through partnerships and through synergies, like with people like yourselves, we're able to make sure that we close these missing links. We're able to say, okay, I actually know someone here who can help you with this. This is how you address it. And also through platforms like these is putting and bringing up to the fore certain issues. And then having others take it on and amplify it through advocacy, so on and so forth. So working through partnerships, being able to plug in with other programs that we have ongoing. There are many programs that will be coming up now as we head to the elections in terms of helping young people to prepare themselves for elective office. So those are some of the things that we do, and we support different partners to do this.
That's really dope. I hope you guys are attuned as we are. We are at Kisima_podcast on Twitter and at Kisima Podcast on Instagram. Do follow us and keep the conversations going. So at this point, I would like to maybe just ask you, what is the definition of success in all this? How do we know that we've gotten there? Because I know we are not where we used to be, but then due to all these programs that are going on, we are also far from where we were. So how do we know that we are successful and that this is where we should be?
I think we're very successful just sitting with two lovely young ladies who have already seen the need, for this sort of outreach and being able to use these different ways to reach, the people of your age group and younger than you and older than you. So we know we are successful when we are constantly having more people engaging from wherever they are, using whatever they have to do it. We don't all need to do the same thing. But what we need to do is to constantly strive to make society better. And so even though we have challenges, just going on from day to day, doing our best in wherever we are, whichever space we're in, improving someone else's life, then we know we're on the right road. Yeah.
Wow, that has been such a lovely conversation. Thank you, Grace, for coming here today and for sharing with us your knowledge, because you have lots of years of expertise behind you. And as young people, you continue to motivate us to strive for better. So we are going to link all of Uraia's pages in the description box of where our episodes will be posted, so that as young people, mkue connected, you mobilize and you can be able to take action. It has been Kisima Podcast. Thank you for joining us and stay tuned for more episodes.